Today's lesson is Crazy Cat Behaviors. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
I'm Roger.
And we are back here with our second look at cats and their eccentric behaviors, some of the wild and weird antics they get up to. Anyone who's lived with a cat knows that cats can be, well, when they're not asleep, they can be endlessly entertaining just by watching them kind of do what they do, wandering around, checking the house out, sniffing out every corner, and then maybe getting up to some antics, some weird behavior. Things like knocking stuff off tables. I think a lot of us have noticed that. If you're ever working somewhere and you have your pens on your table, well, don't walk away for too long because you might find those pens under the table or at least on the floor next to the table after the cat has gotten into it. And then there's the boxes, right, Roger? Cats love those boxes. Doesn't matter what's in the box. They just love the box.
Right, and of course they feel safe and warm in those boxes during the winter, but of course when you get a new box in the house, they definitely want to check it out and try to squeeze into that box. Okay, today we're going to talk about some other quirky antics that cats get up to. We're going to talk about their tendency to bring you gifts and the fact that they actually avoid water. These are some behaviors that I am familiar with, having had a cat when I was a kid. And I don't remember the gifts thing so much from the cat, though we didn't let Kelly out that often. But yeah, this is something that cats do. They bring you gifts. Let's find out what this is all about.
Bringing you gifts. Cats will sometimes bring you a toy to show you that they want to play. But other times they'll bring something less agreeable, like a dead mouse. People like to think that this is a sign of affection from the cat, similar to gift-giving in humans. However, animal behaviorists think it's more likely that cats simply prefer to store, eat, or play with their prey in the comfort of their own homes.
大家好，第一部分介绍形容词 agreeable， 它的意思是令人愉悦的、宜人的，也是可以接受的意思。例如 Ellen is in a bad mood, so she's not very agreeable today. Ellen 心情不好，所以她今天不太宜人。或者 Our manager was agreeable to our requests for a vacation. 经理同意了我们的休假要求。另外补充这个字的动词 agree, A-G-R-E-E, agree表示同意或是赞同。我们可以说 I don't agree with your decision. 我不认同你的决定。也可以说 Josh doesn't agree with his parents on certain things. Josh 和父母在某些事情上意见相左。接着看到 affection 这个单字，它是名词，表示喜爱、钟爱之情或是爱慕。例如 Randy has great affection for all of his grandchildren. Randy 对他所有的孙子孙女都有很深的情感。或是 Alice looked at her new puppy with love and affection. Alice 满怀爱意地看着她的新小狗。
Okay, we are back. So we're here with our third odd cat behavior. The section here is titled Bringing You Gifts. Now, notice how the word gifts there is in those quotations. When we do that, we're kind of saying, yeah, we're using this word, but maybe not in the way you would normally expect. There's a slight variation, a slight twist to how we're using the word gift here. So no, you'll never come home and find your cat has brought you a diamond ring or anything like that. Never anything useful, like a whole week's worth of groceries. No, they're bringing you odd gifts. That's sort of signaled to us by those quotations. So let's see what we mean here. It says, cats will sometimes bring you a toy to show you that they want to play. Okay, I've heard of this. My cat has never really done this, but we have all sorts of toys around. I think the cat doesn't really need to. But yes, they will sometimes do this. They'll bring you a toy to show you that they want to play in the same way that dogs might or even young children might, right? They're sort of saying, hey, I'm bored. I want you to entertain me or at least play with me. Here's the toy, get to it. So it's sort of a gentle reminder that you need to pay a bit more attention to your cat. So that's okay, that's fine. But other times they'll bring something less agreeable, like a dead mouse. Yes, absolutely. I've heard of this. I've also heard of them being parts of the mouse. They might come home to find like a heart or the kidneys or things like that of a dead animal, a bird or a mouse sitting somewhere in the house, maybe on the windowsill. I knew a friend, a cat was always leaving this stuff in the bathroom sink, which is, I guess, better than on the kitchen counter or something like that. But these are things that are less agreeable than a fun little chew toy or something like that, a normal toy. A dead mouse is definitely less agreeable. If something's agreeable, you like it. It doesn't offend you. It's something that you would enjoy, or at least something that you wouldn't say, oh my gosh, get that away from me. No, so something agreeable is something pleasant or nice or enjoyable, something that is very, very inoffensive, okay? But a dead mouse is not so agreeable. I think most of us can agree, especially when we come home or wake up in the morning and find this sitting in the middle of the kitchen floor, for example.
It can be pretty gross. You could also describe the weather as being very agreeable. How's the weather today? Oh, it's very agreeable. We can go out and have some fun. Or you might know somebody with an agreeable personality. They're very pleasant, very fun to talk to. But this is less agreeable, something very gross, something disgusting, and that could be a dead mouse or a dead rat or a dead bird. I've seen those before. My roommate used to have a cat named Margaret, and she brought back rat heads.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she wouldn't bring back the whole rat. She'd just bring back the head. So that's very unagreeable, I guess you could say. And people like to think that this is a sign of affection from the cat, similar to gift giving in humans. So some people think that, hey, look, I've gone out and hunted this rat and I brought it back for you because I love you so much.
Okay, that's a nice thing to do. I guess we're sort of assuming cats have some kind of mothering tendency towards us, their human owners, in the same way that the mother cat might bring food back to the babies to eat like birds do. But this may not actually be true. It's a nice thing to tell ourselves when we're cleaning up that dead mouse. Oh, my cat just loves me and is trying to bring me a snack. However, it says in the article, animal behaviorists think it's more likely that cats simply prefer to store, eat, or play with their prey in the comfort of their own homes. This makes cats kind of sound like serial killers or something like that. This is a little bit odd. Maybe I'll just keep telling myself it's a gift, and it's not that my cat likes to do its evil deeds in private. But this is what animal behaviorists tell us. A behaviorist is someone who studies the behavior of certain things. With humans, we would generally not use this term, a human behaviorist. We have other jobs or other fields like anthropology, sociology, psychology, things like that to explain and analyze and research and learn about human behavior. But for animals, yes, absolutely. So if you're an animal behaviorist, you would be an expert probably in a certain type of animal, dogs, cats, fish, birds, whatever it is, and you kind of know about the sociology, the psychology, the sort of group dynamics of animals living together, why dogs like to be in packs, I should say, but cats are more solo hunters, and why tigers kind of live alone, but lions live in groups. This kind of thing would be the knowledge and the field of a behaviorist, someone who analyzes and researches and is an expert in the behavior of animals. So they say that these cats are not bringing gifts home. They're just storing, eating, or playing with their prey, their food, the animals that they have killed and hunted and killed for food. They like to do this in the comfort of their own homes. I guess it makes sense, right? In the wild, if a cat catches a mouse, it doesn't just eat it right there. It takes it back to somewhere safe. It doesn't want that mouse to be stolen from it. It doesn't want to be attacked by another animal while it's enjoying its meal in the middle of the open. So it kind of takes it somewhere a little bit more private to have some safe time enjoying its nice meal. In this case, it ends up just being a rat head on the garage floor.
Okay, let's move on now and talk about their tendency to avoid water. Let's listen.
Avoiding water. Everyone knows that most cats hate water. But why is that? One theory is that since cats originated in very dry climates, they aren't used to water and thus try to stay away from it. Another possibility is that wet fur makes them heavier and slows them down, which could put them in danger. Finally, since cats like to be clean, they may avoid getting soaked because wet fur makes them uncomfortable and takes ages to dry out.
第二部分看到动词 soak， 它的意思是浸湿，也可以是让点点点湿透或是液体渗入的意思。 例如 After exercising, Greg likes to soak in a warm bath to relax his muscles. 运动后 Greg 喜欢泡热水澡来放松肌肉。也可以说 Please soak your uniform in hot water to clean it. 请将你的制服浸泡在热水中清洗。
Okay, so this is something that cats do. They avoid water. Why is that? Why do cats avoid water?
So one theory is that since cats originated in very dry climates, they aren't used to water and thus try to stay away from it. All right, well, that kind of makes sense. So this is going back hundreds of thousands or millions of years since cats originated in very dry climates. I think we kind of know that cats are from Africa. Some of the smaller cats might have been from the desert regions, right? We know the Egyptians, of course, thousands of years ago worshipped cats, so they had cats back then. And so they originated, it's probably safe to say, in very dry climates in dry parts of the world, in places like North Africa and the Sahara, in deserts, in that kind of location. So to originate, that's where it comes from. It started there, and then since then it's maybe spread all around the world, but if we trace it back in history, if we go back in time, then we can say that with some confidence that this is where it started, this is where it began, this is where it came from, this is its origins, right? We know the word origin as being a place where something began or started or was first seen. So cats come from, in other words, very dry climates, and they aren't used to water and thus try to stay away from it. Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. I think if anyone tried to put a lion in the middle of the North Pole, they would probably find that lion very confused and very unhappy and saying, what is all this cold, weird stuff under my feet? I don't like this very much because I'm not from this part of the world. But there's another possibility.
Yep, another possibility is that wet fur makes them heavier and slows them down, which could put them in danger. So that seems to make sense because cats, of course, are covered with fur, and if their fur is all wet, they're going to be really heavy, and it's going to be difficult for them to move around. As you know, cats are very nimble and quick, and they run around rather quickly. They jump up on things all the time, so if their fur is really wet, they probably will have difficulty doing such things. So that will put them in danger. If they can't move very fast, their predators will be able to chase after them, kill them, and then nudge them and take them home to their masters.
Absolutely. I would also maybe think that it might have something to do with staying warm, right? Because cats, they don't have a lot of fat on them generally, and maybe that water on their hair will really cool them down. And as it says there, finally, since cats like to be clean, they may avoid getting soaked because wet fur makes them uncomfortable and takes ages to dry out. So yeah, they're not designed. Their bodies aren't designed like this. We know that ducks, for example, that swim in the water, they have special oils on their feathers that allows them to get wet but not get cold, whereas other animals that don't normally spend time in the water might not have these adaptations, these little unique parts of their physiology, of their body to protect them from problems like this. And cats do like to be clean. They spend a lot of time cleaning themselves, so that's why pet owners don't really need to wash their cats. I remember asking a vet this once, and he said, no, unless your cat is unusually dirty from getting in a terrible adventure, you really don't need to wash your cats ever. And it's probably a lot less stressful for you and the cat to not even try it, because cats like to be clean. They spend a lot of time grooming themselves, licking their fur and things like that, so they avoid getting soaked. If you're soaked, you are really, really wet. Not just mildly wet, not just, oh, I was out in the rain for a minute or two. No, this is more like I was out in a typhoon and I forgot my umbrella at home, or I stood under the shower for a minute or two and I am entirely wet. You're basically carrying as much water as possible on your body. No more water can be absorbed. You are totally soaked. And that is because they don't like to be soaked, because wet fur makes them uncomfortable, probably cools them down, as well as being heavy and something they're not used to. So this makes them uncomfortable. And it takes ages to dry out. When we say ages in this way, we just really mean a very, very long time. So they don't shake themselves, right? You don't usually see cats shaking themselves like dogs do when they get out of the water. Since they're not used to it, they don't know that behavior. And so when they get wet, they stay wet, and that would definitely cool them down. And I think, honestly, in certain colder parts of the world, a wet cat could end up being a dead cat because of hypothermia, right? It cools down too much until its body starts to go into shock and things like that. So wet cats are unhappy cats, and it's not really necessary or desirable to get your cat too wet.
Indeed, so the fur will take forever to dry out, and cats don't like that. They like to be nice and clean and dry, so that's probably one reason why they avoid water. Okay, let's wrap things up now by listening to the final part, and we'll come back to discuss it.
In any case, there's clearly more to cats than meets the eye. The behaviors we think of as funny or odd are ultimately evolved behaviors that have helped to make them the great pets we know and love today.
第三部分看到片语 in any case， 它的意思是无论如何或是不管怎样。例如 Alan can't come to the meeting this afternoon. In any case, we'll still have it without him. Alan 不能来参加今天下午的会议。总之，少了他，我们还是要开会。又或者说 I will be out of the office for 2 weeks. In any case, you can always call the company and somebody should be able to help you. 我会有2个礼拜不在公司。不管怎样，你随时打到公司来，都会有人可以帮你。最后看到动词 evolve， 它表示演进、演变或是进化。在课文中 evolved 为过去分词做形容词用，表示演化的。我们可以说 The historians studied the evolved traits of ancient civilizations. 历史学家们研究了古代文明的演化特征。也可以说The brand evolved with changing trends in the industry. 该品牌跟随着产业变化的潮流发展。这边顺便补充名词 evolution, E-V-O-L-U-T-I-O-N, evolution, 表示演化或是进化。举个例子 The evolution of Kate's career from waitress to restaurant owner has been slow but steady. Kate 从服务生到餐厅老板的职涯发展缓慢却稳定。最后一个例子The gradual evolution of Sherry's painting style reflected her growth as an artist. Sherry 绘画风格的逐渐演变，反映了她作为艺术家的成长。
Okay, let's talk about the third part of our lesson for today. It's the final part. It wraps up our topic here about cats and their peculiar behaviors. In any case, that's a phrase we often use to sort of come to a conclusion. You could also say anyway, or in any case, that's what happened. So this is what you use if you want to wrap things up. It doesn't really matter if we don't really know why these cats have these behaviors. In any case, no matter what, there's clearly more to cats than meets the eye. So indeed, they are very mysterious creatures, and we're hearing about new theories all the time about the way they behave, and the reason why we always want to go watch those funny cat videos on YouTube.
The behaviors we think of as funny or odd are ultimately evolved behaviors that have helped to make them the great pets we know and love today. So there you go. The behaviors that we as humans observe kind of just in our homes, we think of them or we see them as being funny or odd, quirky, in other words. These are ultimately evolved behaviors, okay? So when we talk about evolved behaviors, these are things that cats have kind of learned how to do or grown into doing over millions of years, over many generations, evolved behaviors. These are things that the cats are doing not for our entertainment. These are natural things that cats do, and if they're not around our homes knocking pens off tables, they're out in the wild nudging a dead mouse or something like that. These are things that cats naturally do, and they do them because they have helped to make them, cats, the great pets we know and love today. And I would also say they've helped to make them the great hunters that they are naturally in the wild. Cats are very successful predators on their own, even when they are away from us and not taking a nap on our sofa.
Indeed, they do have those instincts, and of course, they make great pets as well, especially for people who live in cities. Okay, we're at the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分谈到猫咪带礼物给你的行为， 那这个段落最后一句提到，动物行为学家认为这更有可能只是因为猫比较喜欢在自己舒适的家中储存、食用或者是玩弄猎物。好，那文中它是用 It's more likely that 去表达更有可能是怎么样怎么样。好，那这边我们就来整理一下 likely 的词性以及常见的句型。首先 likely 可以当副词，表示可能的，像是 They will likely get married in the near future， 他们可能在不久的将来步入婚姻。那么 likely 也可以当形容词，描述可能的，表达说几率很高。那它的前面呢，可以加上 more、less、very 等等去修饰它可能的程度。好，来看常用的句型有两种，一个是你可以用 It is likely that 主词加动词，其中的 that 可以省略不用。举例来说， It is highly likely that Ross will win the match. Ross 非常有可能赢得比赛。那这边我们就在 likely 的前面加上 highly 去修饰它的可能程度。那第二个句型是主词 be likely to 加原形动词，像刚刚的例句，我们也可以说 Ross is highly likely to win the match。好，那我们看到课文第三部分有一句提到，我们认为有趣或古怪的习惯，归根究底都是演化而来的行为。那文中用到 evolve 的过去分词来当形容词，描述演化的。那这个动词 evolve 它有演进、演变、进化的意思。我们来学习它的字首字根。好 volve 这个字根它表示 roll， 就是转动、滚动的语义。那么在 evolve 这个字当中，它的字首是来自 ex， 表示向外，字根 volve 它有转动改变的意思。那我们可以用向外转动慢慢扩展的那种意象去联想到 evolve 它有演变、进化或者是逐步发展的意思。好，那顺便补充几个带有 volve 这个字根的单字。第一个 involve， 它的字首 in 表示 into， 就是进入， volve 表示转动滚动。那滚动进来应该可以联想到说 involve 它有卷入的意思，所以呢 involve 它表示使卷入、牵连或者是包含。好，第二个补充的单字是 revolve， 它的字首 re 有返回再度的意思， volve 表示转动，那么合在一起 revolve 它就是旋转、转动， revolve around something 就可以表达围绕什么而旋转。那它的名词 revolution 也可以指说旋转啊、天体的这个绕转运行，它还有革命、重大变革的意思。同学们也许就可以用翻转政局去联想到 revolution 它有革命的意思。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Agreeable. Today's weather is quite agreeable for a picnic. Affection. Mr. Larson expressed his affection for his wife with a warm hug. Soak. We got caught in the rain and were soaked to the skin. Ultimately. Many factors affect climate, but ultimately, human activity has had the greatest effect. Evolve. The various species on Earth have evolved over millions of years.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. The question is, what is the craziest cat behavior you've ever seen? Why did you find it so crazy?
I think the craziest cat behavior I've seen with my cat right now, I won't say was, I'll say is, because he does this all the time. Once he's sitting on my lap for 20 minutes and he gets a good scratch, if I ever want to get up, he will jump off my lap and then go like he's really, really, really mad at me for kicking him off my lap. He never does anything else. He never tries to scratch me. He just shows his displeasure in the strongest way possible, and I always feel slightly guilty.
That is a crazy cat behavior. I wouldn't call my experience a crazy cat behavior on the cat's part, but it's more on my part. When I was young, I had heard that cats always land on their feet, so I did an experiment with our house cat, our pet cat. I held him up about 2 feet above the bed, and he was able to get onto his feet.
Okay.
And then I tried it at 1 foot and 1 foot, and then he was able to get there. But gradually, as I lowered him down closer to the bed, about 2 inches or 1 inch, he just couldn't get all the way around and landed on his back. That was probably a cruel thing to do, but at least I did it on a nice soft bed.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.